Hey, this is Jason Augustowski, and this is the reflection of my third week of student teaching. Um, this week was very interesting because we are in the middle of a really funny Revolutionary War unit with the sixth graders, in which we have attempted to totally immerse ourselves in the time period of 1775 through 1781. And in order to do that, one of the things we've done is institute this militaristic style of behavior where we're pretending that every student on the team is in the Continental Army and that I'm their commanding officer, a major, and that my CT is a colonel, and that the administration of the school are all generals. And the students all started as privates and have been slowly, based on like work ethic and behavior and homework stuff, and the way they like play the game, get into the fact that we're trying to pretend to be in the military. They've been able to rank up every day to higher levels. So at this point, someone that's on track is all the way up to a first sergeant in the in our like little Continental Army, and it's really fun. The kids really love it, and it's a really awesome behavior management tool because at least at this age, at sixth grade, they actually really care about their ranks and stuff. And even though their ranks don't reflect grades and stuff, because a lot of it has to do with behavior and a lot of it has to do with just them playing the game, like they salute officers higher than them in the hallway, and they're absolutely silent when an officer is talking, or if one walks into the room, they all stand up to salute, and they're all like very respectful and very, proper in that sense. And so that's why I said it's really interesting way to manage behavior because they don't want to get demerited. Like there have been a couple instances where they have seen friends get demoted, and that like really freaks them out, so that they always want to be like, as soon as you say like, all right, well guys, if you want to spend the whole period talking, there might be some demerits like thrown out, they're like, whoa, silence. And they want to hear exactly what you're saying, and they want to produce the best work for you and get everything in on time, because they know otherwise they won't rank up, and they all want to rank up to like lieutenants and captains and be in officer positions. So that's actually really fun. Monday and Tuesday we talked about Saratoga, which is the turning point of the Revolutionary War. Did some really, really fun station work with both of those that involved students doing a lot of different reading and covering all of 6.4 and 6.5 of the SOLs over the course of those 2 days. They were talking a lot about different reading strategies, like making predictions, making inferences, summaries, comparing and contrasting, making conclusions, asking questions, identifying plot and character and theme and all that, those kind of things, and imagery and predicting outcomes, and seeing how imagery contributes meaning to a text, and summarizing. A lot of really, really cool stuff that they did with a lot of like really official, authentic documents and letters and things like that that all took place in and around the battles of Saratoga in New York during the Revolutionary War. And that was really, really awesome. They liked that. They've been producing really cool creative homework this week. One day they made a skit about Saratoga. On Thursday we did Cowpens, the Battle of Cowpens, and they had to make a comic strip explaining a small like point of the military, like of what the military action during that battle, like of some of the strategy, and it had to be a comic that had no words, so they had to tell it in images, which was a really interesting thing. They spent all week working on a letter home to their family, pretending that they were a soldier in the war, and it's during the time of the Battle of Trenton, so it's cold outside, and they're talking about the hardships of war, and they're also talking about what the battles have been like for them so far. So they're activating prior knowledge, stuff that we did last week, like Lexington, Concord, Bunker Hill, Trenton, to write this letter that's about both like the hardships of winter, what it's like being a soldier, and their experiences in any battles that they have fought so far. And they tea stained the letters, and they burnt the edges of it, and they typed them up in like old English fonts and stuff. So that looked really cool, and I'm really excited to have them over here in a pile. I'm really excited to go through them and go through their writer's notebooks again, as always, this weekend. They've been keeping up with their writer's notebooks. They've been keeping up with their reader's log. They've been keeping up with all these like little week-long projects. Like 2 weeks ago was a high-low chart. Last week it was translating sayings of colonial times into our language, and this week it was the letter. Today we had a field trip. So I only had first period English, and I worked with them with my Raise Your Raise Your Hand campaign, which is all about getting students really like woohoo about learning and really getting excited about taking responsibility for their learning, for becoming lifelong learners, for loving school, and for spreading that kind of mentality around the school. So we listen to that song. We have a theme song that explains all of those things and really gets kids pumped up about that kind of stuff. And we talked about that, and they got into groups today to talk about how they can actually spread this kind of thought process around the school. And they had some really great ideas. They were talking about maybe a poster contest or make a banner and hang it up in like a highly trafficked areas, like place where there's high traffic, and making an announcement about it, or having t-shirts or anything like that to spread around the school. And they were really interested in that, and they had some really great ideas. I also want to go back and talk about yesterday when we were CalPens. I did this like this top student challenge, kind of like how in boot camp we did this top teacher challenge, but where the kids had one class, like half of one class period, to go through all these like official documents, to use dictionaries, to use thesauruses, to use all of these tools. It was to cover the SOL that say use word reference materials and select your informational sources to help you achieve a certain purpose. And the kids had like about 25 minutes after the quick write and before they presented to create a poster that was all about the Battle of Cowpens, and they didn't know anything about it beforehand, so they had to educate themselves on the battle, use dictionaries so that it was all spelled right, use thesauruses so that they were using precise language, use table of contents to get to information they needed quickly, and glossaries to look up like specific words from the time period, like no one knew what a dragoon was or what cavalrymen were, so they were able to look up those kind of like more bolded terms. And the work they created under pressure was absolutely astounding. They all did this presentation at the end of the period, and it was just like, whoa. I was sitting in the back, and they each gave like a 2-minute presentation, like each of the groups that had made it. Really, really impressive. And then I had the students put their heads down and vote for the squadron that they thought had given the best presentation. And they weren't allowed to vote for themselves. But looking back on that, I completely didn't think that could just kind of turn into a popularity contest, but it was kind of obvious after it had happened that the groups that won had all of like the cooler people in them who usually did also some of the best work, so that's why it was kind of hard to catch originally. And then you kind of thought, wait a minute, this group over here kind of had a better poster, and they just aren't as popular than the group that actually won for a poster that was good, but just not as good. And they won because it's kind of like, like the cool group. So that'd be something to think about in the future, is to vote in a different way so that it wasn't just people voting for like the popular kids and not voting for like the kids that aren't as well known on the team and everything. But it's just something to think about. But like I said, overall, it all went well. The field trip today was really fun, really interesting. It was actually, we went to a gallery to view a comic series that was created by the fathers of one of my students, which is just awesome. And so my student's dad gave us the whole explanation of the series and really talked about how it was created, like what the good messages and morals are behind the comic, how if you are interested in art and interested in sketching and stuff, how you can go to art school and like get through school to follow your dreams and to like have a career in this kind of field, which a lot of our students really love drawing, so that was really excited for them. And we toured all around the gallery, and he gave all of our students autographs and everything, and we had lunch. And it was just a really great experience. There were a couple little behavior issues here and there, a little bit too loud, a little bit of running around in the gallery, but overall, it was a really great field trip and a really great week.